Welcome to the Permission to Succeed podcast. This podcast is about learning from and being inspired by people who have been successful because they found what they were passionate about, created something special, and most of all, they gave themselves permission to go and do it. The genesis of this podcast is the inspirational lives of Muhammad Ali and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and their world-changing impact. The Permission to Succeed podcast is brought to you by Advisorpedia, the best place advisors come to grow their minds and businesses. And now, please join your host, Doug Heikkinen.
Hello, and welcome to the Permission to Succeed podcast. Our guest today is Mike Nessim, who's the CEO of Kingswood US. Kingswood may be the fastest growing as well as ever-evolving advisor platform right now. They're doing it by offering the resources and capital of a very large financial services platform with the personalized touch of a boutique. We wanted to find out what's behind all of this, and the best person to share that is the man at the helm. Welcome, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Doug. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
It's been a massive year for you in Kingswood. Have you taken the time to sit back and reflect on what you and the team have built so far?
We have, but the truth is that we're moving so fast every day, with the technology we're putting on, with the recruits that we're bringing on and the acquisitions we're looking at, that it's kind of hard to look back. We're just always looking forward every day. So maybe after this big swing finally settles down, maybe I'll have a chance to look back a little bit more on what we've done.
Let's take a step back and talk about you. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Queens, and then we moved to Long Island when I was about 12 years old. So spent most of my childhood in Long Island.
What were some of your early influences? Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, for me growing up as a kid, I always grew up a little differently than everybody else. I mean, we moved to an affluent area in Long Island after my father had passed away when I was rather young. I was probably the poorest kid in the school. But I was motivated by the public school system that I went to because the majority of those kids were rather wealthy kids. So as a kid, it always inspired me to try to do something, much, much bigger and much greater because I could see the wealth around me.
Despite those wealthy kids, or in spite of those wealthy kids, do you have remember some of your early influences?
Sure. I mean, listen, it all goes back to my parents, right? Even when my father was alive, I used to see him, waking up at 5 a.m, going to work, coming back at 8 o'clock at night, and still having time to, take care of his kids and, spend time with his kids. And then after he passed away, I could see how my mother, she raised 3 kids on her own with virtually no income, and working 2 or 3 jobs and taking care of us, just put that, it put that motivation that you can do anything that you set your mind to.
How did you find your way into financial services? Was it something you saw in it as a path to be successful? Did you find the industry interesting, or was it both?
It was interesting. So since we grew up, rather poor, at the age of 13, 14, I was working in restaurants as a busboy. So I spent my junior high school and high school working as a busboy. Then I became a waiter, and the restaurant that I was working in while I was in college as a waiter, a bunch of stockbrokers used to come in all the time, and they would consistently try to recruit me to work with them. And though I was in college and I was just deciding what I wanted to do, it really opened my eyes to the industry and what can be done.
If thinking back to your early beginnings in the industry, what are some of the things you learned about it?
I mean, I learned that it's you don't necessarily have to be the smartest guy in the room. What you need to be is the hardest working guy in the room. So I learned that hard work, above all, will power you through, and you'll beat out all your competition consistently by working harder than them. It was a big lesson for me.
Can you remember some of the people that guided you along the way and inspired you?
Sure. I mean, again, you always go back to your parents. So, I think my mother inspired me. My mother, she put in my brain that, you could do anything you want to do as long as you work hard enough to do it. So that was a big inspiration. I knew that, I couldn't fail because as hard as I worked, success would happen. It would just be a question of time. In the industry, when I came into the industry, I started to work under a advisor. And back in those days, what you do is you'd work under the advisor. You would be his intern, and you would help him build his book of business while he would teach you the business. And I think what was really inspirational for me is that even though a lot of the other advisors in the room were treating their interns rather poorly, my advisor who trained me, he taught me in a very honest way. And we had a true partnership. The partnership was, I'm going to help him build his business, but he's going to show me this business and he's going to teach it to me. And that's kind of what I've tried to carry on to Kingswood is that partnership of, you're going to do something for us, but we certainly are going to do something for you. That's a true partnership.
Well, he must have taught you well, because in 2018, you bought a broker dealer. I mean, tell me about
Yes.
that. Why a broker dealer, and what was the plan?
I for many years, my career was built around building super OSJs. So that's what I did with my business. And then, in about 2017, I started to see that the business was changing rather rapidly. That it was consolidating. That there was an old school of broker dealers that either through legacy products that they did, that their advisors sold, or just through I would say the many years of them operating, that there was room for a new kid on the block, that there was room for a new broker dealer with the ability to bring this partnership model to the market. And so that's what inspired me really to finally start my own broker dealer in 2018.
So besides the huge amount of work and responsibility, now you're all in, and you're only as good as the people on the ship with you. So tell us about those early days about the broker dealer, which weren't really so long ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, I was really lucky because, in a lot of ways you make your own luck, right? At my OSJ, or my super OSJ that I had some great people working with me, right? I mean, I had, a great operations person. I had a great, compliance person. I had a great manager. So I really had the infrastructure to move into a broker dealer with great people. And then when I finally bought my broker dealer, I met a series of people down in Atlanta that were just amazing. So I got rather lucky that way because, one of the biggest hurdles in starting your business is trying to find out, who your great people and who the people are that you can trust, and, who are the people are that are going to do, the job. And what I found is a dozen plus people that are just truly amazing. And, I was rather lucky that way.
Did you ever come to a tipping point of sorts? And if you did, was there something you did to accelerate your growth?
Yeah, I mean, so the tipping point really was we started the broker dealer, and then I went into partnership with Kingswood London. Kingswood London is a publicly traded company in London. They're in the wealth management business in the UK, and they've been doing a roll up there for the last few years. So the tipping point for us was accelerating from a small to mid-sized broker dealer, forming a partnership with Kingswood US, which would give us the capital and the name recognition to just take what we wanted to do to the moon.
How has the marriage been, and what are some of the benefits you've reaped from it?
So the marriage has been great. The benefits is that originally when we had purchased Benchmark Investments, we were a small broker dealer without scale. We immediately formed a partnership with Kingswood. We immediately saw the ability to scale our business, right? So all of a sudden, we weren't a small broker dealer anymore. We were affiliated with a large broker dealer and with name recognition. So I think the immediate benefit was name recognition, the ability to pull down capital to grow our business from Kingswood, and the stability of being a small broker dealer in one sense, but in the end, this other sense, having a partnership with a credible large organization. The thing about advisors is, Doug, is that every advisor wants to work at a small broker dealer because they want to speak to the owner, they want to get things done, and we had the ability to give people that option. In one sense, we're a small broker dealer because we have an infrastructure in place that's built around servicing advisors and being personal with them on what they want. And on the other sense, we're a large broker dealer because we have a partnership with a large group in London with the capital backing that.
Ian, this is the Permission to Succeed podcast. Was there a time through this where you had to look in the mirror during these past 2 years and say, no one's coming, I must give myself permission to do this, permission to make it happen and be successful?
I mean, for me, it was like, when I started the broker dealer, it was that old story of, burn the ships because, you're not going back. Right. So when I started it, I said, there's no going back. This is going to be successful no matter what. And there's no other option for me but success. And I still feel that way. I mean, now we're, what we want to do is nothing short of incredible. We want to be a top 3 wealth management group in the United States with the backing of our UK partners. We're on our way to do that, and we're not going to stop till we get there.
Last one. What advice do you have for an entrepreneur out there who might be hesitant to just go for it?
Don't take any negative advice. There's no negative advice that's going to work for you. Everyone can always say something negative to you. When I remember back in probably the early 90s, I was a waiter, and I asked somebody in the restaurant that used to come in all the time. I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about being a stockbroker. What do you think I should do? And they said, you know what? Don't do that. It's really a bad time to be a stockbroker. You're better off not doing that. So the advice I give to everyone is go with your dream and work hard to get there, and don't listen to the negative spin.
Mike, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Best of luck to you in Kingswood.
Thanks a lot, Doug. Appreciate you having me.
If you'd like to learn more about Kingswood, go to kingswoodus.com. For everyone at Advisorpedia, our producer, Jakey Beard, this is Doug Heikkinen. Thanks for joining us.